In today's video, we're gonna take a look at this budget-friendly cruiser-style electric bike from Denago, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, JT from eBikes Escape here. And anyone that has watched some of our videos before, this is not going to be a surprise that we're reviewing another Denago e-bike. At this point, we've reviewed quite a few Denago e-bikes, and we've always been pretty happy with those types of bikes. And they're very easy to recommend, especially with their growing dealer network. But in today's video, we're going to take a look at one of the bikes that comes in on the entry level of their price point, and that's going to be the Denago Cruiser 1. The Denago Cruiser 1 comes in at just $1,099. The Denago Cruiser 1 is available in both a step-thru and high-step model. Step-thru seen here. It's not the lowest step-thru we've ever seen, but it does have a pretty low step-over height. Now, along with there being two frame options, there are some different color options that are available. The step-thru comes in this beautiful gold, which runs from fenders to chain cover to obvious frame. Also comes in a pink as well as a teal, which as well has the same paint cover where you'll get matching colored fenders and chain cover. Then you also have the high step. Now, the high step doesn't have as great color options. It actually only comes in one color, and that is just going to be a simple black. Now, the step-thru, of course, has a more accessible step-over height, which is going to be from 5'1" up to 6'1", where the high step has a height recommendation of 5'4" up to 6'3". One of the things I hinted at a little bit before is that Denago has a growing dealer network. Heck, there's even one in our town here, a small town here in Wisconsin. That's a great option to have for some people, as you may not be able to tell via watching a review what type of electric bike is right for you or what's going to feel right for you. Also, everybody's shaped a little bit differently. So it is nice to be able to go into a dealer where they have all the models on the floor there for you, where you can actually sit on them and give them a test ride. One of the other nice things about Denago is that they are based in the United States. They are actually based in Texas. Also, like I had already said, the Denago Cruiser 1 here is not the first e-bike that we've reviewed from Denago. At this point, I think we've almost reviewed their entire lineup. We also have their e-mountain bike review coming up here shortly. So be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, so that way you will be one of the first people to know when we publish that video. Should be out here very soon. While you're also down there hitting that subscribe button, if you are looking to purchase any Denago e-bike, please consider using the link down in the description. All purchases made after clicking those links help support us here at eBike Escape, shows us that you guys like our content. Also, link down in the description, we're gonna have the links to some other helpful resources, our e-bike accessories list, top e-bikes brands page, our e-bikes discounts codes page, where we keep track of all the deals and electric bike brands that we follow. And one last thing that we'll have linked down there as well is gonna be our shop.ebikeescape.com store. That's a newly open store where we've started to collect some high quality products that we use almost daily here at eBike Escape. I'm gonna call out a couple of them that I think will fit this bike nicely as we kind of go across them. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump to a close view, and we will talk about the brakes and the componentry of this bike. Then we're gonna try and take it up our hill climb test, where we'll see what this bike is capable of. And then after that, we'll give you our concluding thoughts, where we'll kind of round up everything in the video into one nicely composed little conclusion there for you, so you can kind of get an idea if this is a bike that we would recommend you purchase. So with that out of the way, I'll bring you guys in close, talk about some componentry. Starting up here in the front, we have these WD branded, definitely cruiser treaded 27.5 by 2.3 inch tires, complete with reflective sidewall. And then coming around to the other side over here, we have some mechanical disc brakes. These are JAK branded. We've seen these on a couple e-bikes before. They do stop nicely, just what we would expect out of a mechanical disc brake. They do have a 180 millimeter rotor up here as well. Here's a look at this paint-matched solid front fork. And I also want to point out these brushed aluminum rims here while we're here. If you look around this bike, you either get a painted gold component or you get a silver accent piece. That's kind of a nice touch and a nice nod to the styling of this bike. Here's a look at the paint-matched metal fender. And then coming up here, we have a nicely wrapped wiring that runs all the way up to these very wide handlebars, which we'll show off in a minute. And they can run all the way down into the down tube, where they are internally routed all the way back to the motor. Here's a look at the D on the front of the head tube for Denago, as well as here's a look at the 4 bolt mounts for the optional front rack that Denago offers for the Cruiser 1. Working our way up to the cockpit, here's a look at the quill stem. This is not going to be your traditional bolt-on stem that we're so used to seeing. This is a quill stem. So if you're looking to maybe put an adjustable stem on here or change out the handlebars, something to keep in mind. Here's a look at those. I got to almost step back to here so you can see the full width of the handlebars. Be sure to pay attention to the third-person riding footage at the end of this video. We'll kind of give you an idea of the position that these handlebars put you in, as well as how far back your wrists are. While riding this bike, though, I have found that I'm a 5'7" rider. I do have a little bit longer of a torso, but I did find that the handlebars almost put my arms back at a little bit of an uncomfortable angle, as they are a super swept back set of handlebars. So just be aware that this are very cruiser minded. And so this may be something that you will be looking to change or maybe even trim them down so that they fit you a little bit nicer. Here's a look at the ergonomic grip on the left-hand side, as well as a left-hand twist grip throttle. The front mechanical disc brake lever with nice rubber on the front here, as well as a integrated bell. We'll come back to the display in just a second. Running around the width of the handlebars, come to the right side here, where here's a look at the Shimano twist grip shifter. This is a 7-speed. It's a little bit of a different component from what we typically see, where we typically see the over-mounted push thumb shifters. This is a nice twist grip shifter, as well as we have the matching short grip and unbranded mechanical disc brake lever on this side as well. Let's go ahead and jump over to this very simple LED display. There is a power button on the right hand side, as well as a plus and minus button here. We're going to hold the power button for a few seconds, turn it on. Now the display is not flashing, that's just how it appears on the GoPro. One nice thing about a LED display is that we are in direct sunlight now, or about as direct as we can get on this cloudy day. But even with polarized sunglasses or anything like that, I've had no problems being able to see this display, which is not something we can say for all of the colored displays. Obviously, you give up some more of the amenity or features of a bike when you jump to a simple display like this, but it is very nice to see in direct sunlight. As I hinted at, it's very basic. You have a plus button here to run up your pedal assist levels, as well as a down button to jump down your power assist levels. It is 0 to 5. You can cycle through some of the various options by pushing the power button once. Now we here jump to trip, odometer, and then back to speed. And then there are some advanced settings. There's not a lot of them, but you simply hold the plus and minus button at the same time, and you'll jump in. The first option is going to be your wheel size. We're going to leave that at 27.5. Push the power button to cycle through. You get a 0 or 1. I'm going to go ahead and change that to 1, and this is for the units of measure. So we're going to go ahead and leave that on 1, as that will be mileage. And then to exit that, you simply hold the power button. Now you jump back to the main screen on the display. Or like I had said, there are only those 2 options there in the advanced settings, so there's not going to be any overriding or anything like that. With that, the bike does come shipped as a Class 2, 350 watt, 20 mile per hour bike. We'll be sure to put that top speed claim of 20 miles per hour to the test in our riding footage. And a Class 2 e-bike, for anybody that doesn't know, a Class 2 e-bike is a bike that has a throttle, and it is capable of getting to 20 miles per hour whether you're on throttle or pedaling alone. Whereas we review a lot of Class 3 e-bikes, or some of the other Denago e-bikes we reviewed have been Class 3, which means that they will go to 20 miles per hour on throttle, but you will be able to pedal them up to a top speed of about 28 miles per hour with assist. So just something to keep in mind, that this bike is meant to be a cruiser bike through and through. It's not meant to be the fastest, but definitely is going to provide you some assistance and be quite stylish while it is going. Working our way down from the cockpit, here's a look at the integrated battery into the frame, as well as the Denago branding and the step-through of the frame. It's a very simple frame. Now, the overall weight capacity for this Denago e-bike is going to be 300 pounds, and with battery, it comes in at just a mere 56 pounds. So if you are looking to transport your bike around frequently, this is going to be a bike on the lighter end of that spectrum, definitely worth looking into. We'll come back and talk about removing the battery and everything in just a minute. And here's a look at another one of those silver components, really adds to the aesthetic of this bike. And here's a look at a very cruiser style pedal. Doesn't have any pegs, it's just a nice rubber top. So maybe if you're going to be pedaling to a beach or on a beach path, this is going to be the pedal set that you want. If you're looking for some other recommendations, be sure to check out our e-bike accessories list. We've got quite a few other recommendations for some pedals and some other nice smooth pedals if maybe you're looking for something that's a little bit bigger. The pedals are nicely out of the way of the kickstand, so you don't have to worry about catching the pedals on the kickstand while maybe you're moving the bike around. Here's a look at the matching gold metal fender in the rear. This is a pretty full wrap fender. Nice thing is it also comes pre-installed, so you don't have to worry about fighting to get that on there. And then while we're here too, let's talk about these 2 bosses here in the frame. These are for the rear rack that Denago offers on their website. So if maybe you're going to be hauling a little bit of extra cargo, or going to be using this to run errands, it is nice that Denago does offer a rear rack for this, and it was very reasonably priced as well. Here's a look at the matching jack rear mechanical disc brake and 180 millimeter rear rotor. Coming around to the other side, here's where we'll look at the drivetrain and motor. This is a 350 watt, 36 volt rear motor from Denago. That's right, this is a 36 volt system. So it is a smaller electrical system than what we typically see, which is going to be 48 volt or even 52 volt in some cases. I definitely think that this bike is going to have a little bit of trouble on our hill climb test, but I believe just pedaling around on flat ground, this motor is going to be completely capable. Be sure to just stay tuned for our riding footage, where we'll kind of talk about that as we go through it. And here's a look at the rear freewheel. This is a 14 to 28 tooth rear freewheel, as well as we have a Shimano tourney rear derailleur. Now this is one of the entry-level Shimano derailleurs. It does still have a barrel adjuster on the back here, as well as high and low screws. And we found that for most cases, these tourney derailleurs, if you're just kind of commuting around, are going to be perfectly adequate. And then coming up here to the front, we have a chain cover, which we don't typically see. Also has the Cruiser 1 name on there. Quick note about this, out of anything that was damaged in shipment, it's going to be this chain guard was kind of bent in and riding on the chain. So it did take some bending and prying for me to get it all nice and straight. Just something to be aware of. You may run into that same thing if you are unboxing and assembling your own Denago e-bike. It was not difficult and it did not really affect any of my riding, just something that I was aware of, as these are just thin metal, but they are nice too because they keep the grease and things away from maybe your pants, and it's also stop your pants or anything from getting caught in there. And then while we're up here as well, we have this not protected, but you do have this chain cover here, 42 tooth front chain ring, as well as the matching silver gear and pedal arm, and a matching flat cruiser style pedal. And then working our way up, here's a look at this fairly plush Denago branded seat. It does have a handle back here on the back. However, if you are somebody that finds this seat after maybe riding, it does not really fit you, we had just added a new seat to our shop.ebikescape store, which is the YLG seat. That is a seat that we see recommended all the time. It's a very wide seat and provides a lot of comfort. So definitely something if you pick up this e-bike that may want to be one of your first modifications. That pretty much wraps up the component overview on the Cruiser 1. Let's go ahead and pull out the battery. We have the keys here. They're typically found zip tied to the handlebars. You do only need the keys to remove the battery. You actually don't even need them to put them back in, just to simply get the battery out. You put the keys in here on the driver's side of the bike and you twist them towards the front of the bike and the battery will pop up. And I like to hold the key there until I get the battery removed. Here's a look at the Denago branded 36 volt battery. This is a 10.2 amp hour battery. So not the biggest battery we've ever seen, but for a cruiser style bike like this, it's mostly gonna see on path, maybe bike path riding near a ocean front. This battery should be perfectly adequate. We'll put the range that Denago estimates for this battery on the screen now. Just like most batteries, it can be charged on or off the bike. The charging port is down here on the bottom, as well as down here on the bottom of the frame here. And then on the top of the battery here, we have a LED light. It goes from red to green to blue, depending on the charge of it right now. If you look currently, it is blue. You simply hold that down and the color is displayed. And then to put the battery back in, there's this little nub on the bottom that you'll put on this little knob down here. And it kind of goes in at almost a 45-degree angle right into the frame, and you just give it a little bit of a push there once it gets close and it clicks into place. Pull the keys out, and I always like to give the battery a little pull to see if it'll come out. The Denago Cruiser 1 does also come with a 3 amp charger, so you're able to charge up that 10.2 amp hour battery in close to 3 hours from empty. It's a pretty fast charger, as well as the Denago Cruiser 1, like most Denago e-bikes, comes with a really nice accessory set. Comes with a cool pedal wrench, a nice little multi-tool that you can carry around with you, as well as it comes with a replacement derailleur hanger, so that if your derailleur gets hit in shipping, you can always dial that in by throwing on that new derailleur hanger if you are mechanically inclined. All right, with this out of the way, that pretty much wraps up all the componentry of the Denago Cruiser 1. Let's go and throw it to some first-person riding footage, and we'll kind of talk through how the Cruiser 1 rides. All right, here we are at the first-person riding portion of the Denago Cruiser 1 review. This part of the video, we're just going to kind of talk about how the Cruiser 1 is to pedal and kind of just tell you about its characteristics related to gearing and pedal assist levels. So with that out of the way, I'm already pedaling. I'm in pedal assist level 1, and I'm also in gear 1 on the shifter. And this is a very upright riding position, a very relaxed riding position. These swept back handlebars put my arms in a very relaxed state back here. And it's overall just a very comfortable e-bike to pedal. It's meant to cruise on various beach paths or around neighborhoods, things like that. It just has it's a beach cruiser. That's what, so thankfully it doesn't have coaster brakes like I grew up used to having on cruiser bikes. So it does have mechanical disc brakes though, which is a nice upgrade. All right, here we are. It's pedaling, so I'm in pedal level 1, gear 1, coming about 8 or 9 miles an hour. Looks like the GPS and the display speed are displaying pretty close together. Go ahead and shift up, pedal level 2. And I believe, yep, I felt a little bit more power kick on there. It's nice that the Denago, the Cruiser 1 especially, kind of tapers the power in, so it gives you just little bits of power extra as you kind of go up the pedal assist levels. It doesn't give it to you all at once. It's like a little burst. Yeah, so on this neighborhood road, I am still in gear 1, and it's a pretty easy cadence here. I probably shifted up to pedal assist level 3. There we go. That's where I really felt the extra power come on there. And this is about the point where I would start ghost pedaling. Now, I know this is still a small motor, 350 watts, but I expect it to be able to get me to 20 miles an hour pretty easily, especially on these flat roads. So I'm ghost pedaling at this point, and I am in 1, now in 2, up to 3, up to 4. Okay, there we go. Now I felt a little bit of resistance. So we're doing about 12 to 13 miles an hour there. Yeah, pretty easy cadence. That's for, it looks like where gear pedal assist level 3 is set. One thing to know about Denago e-bikes is that inside of their manuals, now this display does not have the function, but on some of their bikes, you can actually change the top speed. And what that does is it actually changes the top speed in every gear, not just your pedal assist, say level 5. So you can really kind of dial in the top speed for the various pedal assist levels to your environment. Nice customizable feature by the end user. And again, that is referenced in the manual. We'll put a picture of it on the screen now, just so you can kind of get an idea of what that chart looks like. As you change the top speed up and down, it changes the top speed for all the pedal assist levels. So here we are, 12, 13 miles an hour still. Go and kick up pedal assist level 4. Again, felt more power come in there. Let's see here. We're doing 14, 16 miles an hour. I'd have to shift up. 6th, almost in the top gear here. Hello. Yep, I have to go into 7th there. Hopefully nobody could hear the copyrighted music there for a sec. All right, so we're doing 17 miles an hour. Yeah, 16, 17 miles an hour. Go ahead and move that camera up. I need to work on this clamping system. Trying to give you guys a different view here for the videos. Maybe make the riding footage a bit more entertaining. I know you have to stare at my face more, so hopefully you don't mind that as much. But all right, there we go. Now let's go ahead and shift up pedal assist level 5 here. And we're doing still 18, 19 miles an hour. I am completely ghost pedaling now in 7th gear. A little bit of a downhill there. Now the GPS is going to be a little off from the display here. A little bit of tree coverage here. Yeah, but it looks like still 19, and we're nipping right at that door of 20 miles an hour while pedaling. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit more effort. I'm still not putting in a lot of effort here, because pedal assist level 5. You should be able to get to whatever the top speed of the bike is, whether it be 28 or 20. So in this case, it's going to be 20, and we are sitting right below it, 19.6, 19.8. There you are. Phone GPS saying 19 there. There we go, 20, 20.8, and I can keep pedaling here, and the bike is just not providing me any power past that point, because it is still a Class 2 e-bike. And being that it is a Class 2 e-bike, that's exactly what I would expect. So at this part of the review, what I also want to do, we get asked the question a lot, I'm going to turn off the pedal assist. So when you are in pedal assist level 0, you do not have access to the throttle, even when moving, which is nice to know. And here we are. We are just cruising. I'm going to shift down to 4th on the shifter, probably go down to 3rd. It's a little bit of an uphill here. But this bike, it feels like a cruiser bike. It's a very pedal forward position, and your arms being up. So you're not gonna be able to put in maximum effort, but if your battery does die, being that this bike does only weigh 56 pounds, with the battery, even if it's dead weight, it's not gonna be the worst pedaling experience. Although it is still an e-bike, so you always wish you still had some battery in reserve there, but just in case it does happen. But if you're on like a nice flat beach cruising path or something of that nature, 7, 8 miles an hour, this is a pretty easy cadence to maintain here. You can even shift down all the way to 1 and really just kind of spin those legs with a little effort. You can probably be sitting 6, 7 miles an hour. Overall, the cruising experience of the Cruiser 1 is pretty nice. I don't have any real complaints. Always wish maybe we had a little bit bigger of a motor, but being that it is a 36 volt system, it is exactly what I would expect. All right, now let's go ahead and throw it over and see if this motor is capable of making up our hill climb test. All right, here we are at the hill climb portion of our review. What we aim to do in this part of the review is really just kind of show you what the bike is capable of going up a moderate hill, and show you if the bike is even capable of making it up said hill. So with that out of the way, I'm going to put this in pedal assist level 5. First time up the hill, I'm going to go up on throttle power alone. Second time up the hill, I'm going to go up it while pedaling. In between those two tests, I'm going to come down the hill and get up to somewhere most times in about the 30 mile an hour range and give the brakes a good test. So with that out of the way, I'll go ahead and flip you guys around so we can see the hill. All right, and this hill is a 7.2 degree hill. We'll put the full specs for the hill on the screen now. Not the steepest hill in our area, but it is still a pretty decent size hill. So I realized I was pedaling a little bit back there, as sometimes talking and operating are a little difficult. So now I am on throttle power alone. There's a little bit of a hill back there, but up here is where the hill really starts. So it looks like we're staying at somewhere in the 10 to 11 mile per hour range. Now, being that this is a 36 volt system, I do not have a lot of faith that it's going to make it up the hill on throttle power alone, but I think that we'll be able to manage while pedaling to get it up, although I do believe I'm going to be probably a little bit out of breath by the time we get to the top of the hill. So let's just kind of hunker in and see what happens. Oh, speed went up a little bit. We're at now 11, 12 miles an hour, but here's where the hill is really starting. Again, this is going to be throttle power alone, and this is going to be kind of a worst case scenario, as remember, we are riding bikes after all, even though they are electric bikes. So we should probably be providing our own power, especially if you want that battery to go as far as possible. So here we go. We are slowing down pretty rapidly here. We're 5, 4, 3 miles per hour. All right. So I think it is safe to say that the bike did not make it up the hill. I could probably maintain and maybe scoot right to left up this hill, but yeah, we're pretty much at 1 mile an hour. So the bike did not, unfortunately, make it up the hill on power alone. But let's go ahead and see if it makes it up while pedaling. All right, here we are back down at the bottom of the hill. Now I'm going to start a little bit further up than I normally do. Drop down to pedal assist level 1 on the shifter, and I'm in gear 1. And we're just going to kind of pedal and see how far up we can make it before I have to jump up the various pedal assist levels. So here we go, pedal assist level 1, gear 1, I need to shift up. Here we go. Here's where the hill kind of starts. Looks like we're maintaining somewhere in the 9 mile an hour range, pedal assist level 1. Not terrible. I'm putting in a decent amount of effort. I would probably shift up to pedal assist level 2 here. I felt the motor kick on a little bit more there. There you go, taking a little bit of pressure. The one nice thing about the Cruiser 1 is it does taper in the power. So the power didn't kick on immediately. It kind of just tapered the power in. Oh, I forgot to mention too, on the way down, got up to about 22 miles an hour. Brakes were able to slow me down. They're what I expect from mechanical disc brakes. I do wish they were hydraulic, like I do on all bikes, but they were perfectly adequate for slowing me down. I did have to put in a decent amount of hand effort to pull those levers in to get us slowed down, but no problems there. So back to the hill climb part where you're in gear 2, pedal assist level 2. Pretty nice effort here. I'd probably shift up to pedal assist level 3 here. There we go, felt the power come on a little bit more. It looks like I would shift up to 3 here. My legs are starting to move a little fast. This is about the speed that we maintained here on throttle power alone. And then the hill is really going to start right about now. So remember, this is a 36 volt, 350 watt motor. So I do believe while pedaling, it'll get me up the hill, but I did not expect it to make it up the hill on throttle power alone. I would probably start to put in a little bit more effort, feel the motor bogging down. I'd probably shift up pedal assist level 4 here. And I would actually probably even shift up to pedal assist level 5 here. And I am still in gear 3 on the right, putting in a decent amount of effort. But I'm able to maintain 7, 8 miles an hour. Yeah, this seems pretty. All right, I'd probably shift down a little here, maybe to 2. Take a little bit of load off the legs. Putting in a decent amount of torque with them to get us going up the hill, but not too much. I mean, you can tell I'm not out of breath. I'm not working super hard, but I'm definitely putting an effort to make it up this hill. Shift down to 1. There we go. 6, 7. Okay. That's about what we've come to expect from these smaller motors. Some of the other 36 volt systems we've tested have made it up the hill right about that speed too. You do have to put in a little bit more effort. You can hear I'm a little out of breath now top of the hill, but it is completely capable of making it up the hill, just not on throttle power alone. All right, so with that out of the way, that pretty much wraps up our riding portion and walk around part of the review. Let's go and throw it to some third-person riding footage where I will give you my concluding thoughts on this cruiser-style electric bike from Denago.
The Denago Cruiser 1 sports a styling of a bike that we don't typically see here in central Wisconsin, a beach cruiser. But thanks to this being an e-bike, it'll be capable of handling more than just a beachside path or town, and given the $10.99 price tag, we expect to see more of these even here in central Wisconsin. Denago has been a brand that we've been seeing more and more out in the wild. After talking to quite a few of the riders, there are a couple things that stand out not only to me, but to those riders as well. The most common thing mentioned is the growing dealer network. While you can purchase e-bikes directly from Denago's website, we always appreciate it if you do so after clicking the link down in the description. There is a subset of customers who just like having the support of a local bike shop. And while talking about support, the other big thing that stands out to me is the US-based support, something that I feel gets a bit overlooked in today's e-bike market. The Cruiser 1 is the lowest priced e-bike Denago offers, as well as being one of the lowest priced beach cruiser style e-bikes, period. A beach cruiser style bike typically sports large swept-back handlebars and a comfortable upright riding position. Just one quick look at the Cruiser 1, you have no doubt that it follows all those styling cues to the T. The integrated battery, paint match accessories like fenders and full-length chain guard for the added pant and leg protection further accentuate this styling cue. Denago offers other accessories available for purchase separately, so you can kind of customize the Cruiser 1 to fit your needs. The offering of both a high step and step-thru model is great, though I do wish the high step was available in more color variations than just black. The step-thru is available in some great colors, with one of them even being something we don't see very often, pink. We realize cruisers are not for everyone, so be sure to check out Denago's robust lineup of other models. We recommend checking out the Commute or City models, which we have reviews on also. The large swept-back handlebars of the Cruiser 1 put you in a very upright riding position with limited pressure on your wrists, which, when combined with the pedal forward seating position, sets you up in a nice leisurely riding position, which beach cruisers are known for, and the Cruiser 1 doesn't disappoint. Unlike most beach cruisers though, the Cruiser 1 sports a 7-speed drivetrain and of course an electric motor. The 7-speed Shimano drivetrain are mostly the same entry-level components we are accustomed to seeing, except with an upgraded twist grip shifter, which I find a bit nicer to use than the Sys Index shifter that we almost always see. The 350 watt motor performed fine when pedaling around during our neighborhood test, getting me, a 225 pound rider, up to that 20 mile per hour class 2 speed pretty easily. But that smaller 36 volt motor and 10.2 amp hour battery did show their limits during our throttle only hill climb test. But considering the price, overall styling, and of course being meant for flat coastal towns, this is something that's to be expected and understood about this e-bike. One thing that helps out that smaller 36 volt system is the lower weight of the Cruiser 1. With battery, it comes in at just 56 pounds, which if you're planning to vacation with your e-bike, makes it a bit more manageable and will most likely not require as expensive of a rear bike rack. Or heck, for the price, you might even simply buy one and just leave it at your vacation home, as it's a great e-bike for almost anyone and they can just jump on and ride comfortably. The only real downside of the Cruiser 1 is the mechanical disc brakes. While perfectly adequate for the 36 volt system and not uncommon for us to see on e-bikes well into the $2,000 price range, there's currently a push on even some $999 bikes to offer hydraulic disc brakes. I hope that this is an upgrade Denago will round out the Cruiser 1 with in the future, as it would really sweeten the deal. If you're a person who lives in a coastal town, likes beach cruiser style bikes, or is looking for a comfortable e-bike to cruise around flat terrain with, then the Cruiser 1 is for you. It's just a bonus that we get to use phrases like affordable e-bike and bike shop together when talking about this sub $1,100 e-bike that is backed by such a reputable brand like Denago. Again, links in the description if you do decide a Denago e-bike is the next e-bike for you. And if you do decide to purchase from a dealer, be sure to let us know down in the comments why, and be sure to tell them eBike Escape sent you. Let us know also down in the comments what you think of the Cruiser 1 or any of the Denago e-bikes for that matter. And everyone remember, ride safe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.